Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for our first marketing roundtable of the year. I would like to introduce to the chair of our marketing committee, Beth Perel, and co-chair Margaret Doan. So Beth Perel is the principal of Beth Perel Consulting, a marketing and communications consulting practice that specializes in digital communications, public relations, and event management. Leveraging more than 20 years of communications and management experience in the corporate and nonprofit space, Beth has excelled in leveraging digital technology to drive innovation, organizational efficiency, and increasing engagement with internal and external stakeholders. So I will be letting people in the room, and I ask everybody to mute yourself and to put your information in the chat. Over to you,
Oh,
Beth.
awesome. Thanks so much, Margie. And thank you all for joining us today. Like Margie said, I am the marketing chair for the chamber, and it's been a great privilege and pleasure to get to know many of you and excited about our topic today. I know social media has been in the news, good, bad, and just indifferent in there, but lots of things changing and lots of new things happening, and there's lots of places that you could spend your time and energy, and as small business owners you don't have a lot of either. Those both are in short supply. So how do we get more efficient and really focus on where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck in some of these areas? So I'm really excited today. We have three great panelists offering three different perspectives, and really can't wait to hear what they have to say about it. So I'm going to introduce to let you know who's here as our panel. And we'll go ahead and dive right in with some questions. I'll have some questions for them, and then we're going to open it up for questions from you. If something can't wait, pop it in the chat, and we'll make note of that and make sure that we answer it. So with me today, we have Jason Weil. He is a professional photographer who specializes in wedding, bar, bat mitzvah, special events, architectural, and maternity photography. And he's going to share with us today how he's been adjusting his service offerings based on what kind of content his clients are asking for. A little bit more in the animated video world with Reels and TikTok and all these different channels. So he's going to share that perspective with us. And then I also have Margaret Dwan, who is our co-chair of the marketing committee, and she also spearheads GKA Advertising's client services and operations. She works with clients to create thoughtful, impactful brands, and she brings over a decade of marketing and branding and advertising expertise to the table. In that time, her clients have won dozens of top industry awards for their branding, websites, creative campaigns, and social media platforms. So she's going to share a lot with what she's seeing with her clients and just kind of across the board. So she'll have that kind of multi-lens on this. And last but certainly not least, we have Amanda Boslin. She is a communication manager at Ready, which is the Rockville Economic Development Inc. She's had 10 years experience helping nonprofits and businesses communicate and sell effectively around the world. She's a native of Trinidad and Tobago and worked with the destination marketing arm there, and also has worked with an economic development arm in Fresno. And now she's here with us, and we're lucky to have her here in Rockville, and she's going to share kind of how she's working with her organization and where she's spending her time and energy. So with that, thank you all for taking the time and sharing your expertise with us today. I'm going to open it up with a pretty simple question to get us started here for anyone who'd like to go first. What is the biggest shift or the trend that you're seeing in social media over the past year?
Sure.
Thanks, Jason.
Hi, everyone. First of all, I've worked with Beth on a few projects, and one big project, and it was orchestrated perfectly. Beth did a great job, and that was
Thank
about
you.
3 months ago. Yeah.
Mhm.
And the past 3 months, I've been working with a lot of people in the social media world, and I recently picked up a big tip, and working on doing photo shoots for companies for Instagram, for the social media. And I'm working with a videographer who taught me this. And we recently photographed Fair Oaks Mall for the 5th time in the past year and a half. In the last photo shoot, we did everything totally different picture-wise. the videographer, who's awesome, he said, this is what we're going to do. Everything needs to be photographed vertical. We're going to have hand models and all this cool stuff. It was like a Seinfeld episode or something. So, and I said, why are we photographing vertical? And he goes, all these pictures are going to go on Reels for the, and Instagram. Your job is to shoot everything for Instagram. And I'm going to do Reels. I said, okay, cool. And we've, since then, Nick, the videographer, back to the videographer, we're on our fourth shoot with them and with other companies doing just Instagram type of photography. So all these pictures were loaded up to their Instagram account, and it's pretty cool. And it's a new way of marketing. I've used this for different ad campaigns lately. I photograph a lot of distilleries around the DC area. And one, it's an extra way for me to make income. And I photograph regular way, which is a horizontal or whatever you want to call it. And then the other is just strictly vertical. My camera has a template inside to photograph a certain way, and it's really cool. It's really neat. I've been asked to do a lot of stuff for TikTok, and I haven't really gotten into that world yet. One, because I don't want my kids to start doing it, so it's not a contradiction if I start doing it, but it's I don't know much about it. So I'm sticking with Instagram right now and Facebook and that world. And
Awesome.
We'll go from there. Maybe I'll change my mind one day. We'll see.
Right. Yeah, no, there's definitely that fear of the unknown, right? And as a parent myself too, it's like, ooh, do I need to be on there and see what's going on? But gosh, what is going on? So it is good to have these conversations so we can all learn together. Margaret, Amanda, other shifts or trends that you're seeing?
Yeah, there are two trends actually that I think has started even before last year. The first one is the proliferation of video content. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it started with text back in the day, like with Twitter, then it started added images, but now video is kind of like your gold standard for content. We're scrolling quickly through things, so you want something eye-catching, pictures work, but videos are even better. The second trend that I've noticed, I think all of us might have actually been doing it, is a kind of shift to using social media as a de facto search engine. So instead of saying, where should I eat in Google, you go into Instagram and you get your results, or Facebook, or whatever your preferred platform is. But there's a shift of using social media as your search engine. So yeah, those are the two shifts that I've noticed.
That's a great one I've noticed with my teenagers. They definitely rely on Yelp or Instagram or and we cannot step foot in a restaurant without their quick little research. So yeah, good point. Especially if that's an audience that you're trying to attract, that's a place to be.
Yeah, I saw some statistic that was saying that, and I'm not going to get the right number, so don't quote me, but it was a huge percentage of like under 30s are using social media as their search engine. They've kind of abandoned Google to use Instagram, TikTok as the main way that they find out information, which is really interesting because social media is so subjective, like you can pay to have your content in certain spots, or you can influence things to be different places. So it makes you question whether we have a whole generation of people who are finding results that are, not necessarily the organic results that pop up, and granted paid results that pop up in search engines. So I think, what Amanda and Jason said is right on. Like video is the way of the current trends right now. You've got your YouTube opportunities, Instagram, Reels, Facebook has piggybacked off of them. You've got a real opportunity to put your content out there and get it on a bunch of different platforms at the same time if you shoot it correctly, as Jason's saying, so that way you can really distribute it and reach people wherever they're at. I think the note about video and photography being done vertical as well as widescreen is really important. And I would encourage you, as you're setting up photo shoots for whatever it is, to give that direction to your creative team. We do that a lot with the photography teams that we work with, where we say, we do want the big room shot, but you also please get us some little, we call them vignettes, that you could use for social media, so that way we're not having to take that large photo and figure out, like, can we zoom in and get the right resolution to crop it in? Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think that's a real right on with the photography being vertical and video. Yeah.
Awesome. And I love the vignettes term. That's a good term that maybe, as folks are trying to describe what they want, that vignette, the short and
Because there's
sweet.
a certain aesthetic to it, right?
Yes.
It's not just saying, like, here's my photo. It's saying, here's this lovely hand holding a pint of beer, or, it has to fit in within the branding for whatever producer is putting that content out there, be it a brand or a company or an individual who's making a scene for themselves in that space. So
yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, great. Thank you for sharing those insights. What channels, we talked Instagram a little bit about TikTok. Are your clients using TikTok? Is that something, for brands, for companies, is that one that we should be paying attention to, or leave it to the kids?
I think that question really is the moneymaker. Is, do we just leave it to the kids? If your clientele is the under 30 crowd, then you should be on TikTok. Like, that's the answer. Most of our clients are reaching a demographic that primarily uses Facebook and Instagram. We don't really have a ton of clientele that are working with that consumer base in the youth, if you will. And I think, it's also interesting because there is a lot of hesitancy among my clients who I discuss TikTok with. It's been in the news so much as Chinese spyware. There's a question of whether it's going to be pulled from the Apple platform. So there's kind of been a hesitancy among some of the more established brands to even dip their toe in that water if they've already got channels that work for them, because they're wondering, is it going to be an upfront investment that I then have to pull back from? So I think, Facebook is that 35 and up crowd, skewing even 45 and up nowadays. Instagram is 25 to 45 and up. So I think those are the two main platforms. B2B, of course, LinkedIn is the place to be. Your content there needs to be a little bit different than your content on Facebook and Instagram, but it still has a really strong platform for reaching people with a positive message and branding yourself, as well as, engaging and putting out content that's relevant to your audience.
No, good points. Yeah, and we can't count out LinkedIn. Definitely. I mean, we all have a presence on LinkedIn, right?
Right.
But also, there's company pages, and present yourself a little bit differently. It's a different style for sure.
Yeah, I think one thing that we've seen too is that Twitter has kind of fallen off the radar. Twitter's, I use the analogy, it's like kind of like shouting out into the void and hoping somebody hears you and says, oh yeah, like, I resonate with that. And I think there's just been a lot of shouting lately, and people have kind of backed off. We've seen some engagement drop across the board in that field. So I think it has to do with how the public is using it. And also how brands are thinking about who they want to be reaching.
That's a great point about Twitter as well. That's another one where it's like, should I stay on it? Should I look? There's Mastodon and some of these other kind of Twitter competitors emerging. What are y'all thoughts on using Twitter, staying with Twitter, trying some of these others? What's the right way to go there?
I think if you've spent significant time building up your Twitter profile, don't abandon it. Like, not trying to use the sunken cost fallacy where you put so much work and it hanging on. But let's be realistic, it's still a pretty large social network. There's still people active on it. It might not be the most politically neutral one right now, but if you've already invested, continue. If you're thinking about starting, maybe just, put up a profile page, look at what's going on and see. But to Margaret's point about LinkedIn actually for us is the biggest network, and we've been seeing a kind of shift from it being a professional network to more of a kind of semi-professional, here's more about me and my life and other things kind of network. Not that it's a bad thing, but it's interesting how, the other platforms are kind of taking up audiences from where social media might have, other social media networks have lost theirs.
Interesting.
I think COVID had a lot to do with that. All of a sudden, we're
Yeah.
working from home in our athleisure wear, and that's still our professional life. You know what it means to
Exactly.
be professional. It's shifted a little bit, so
Yeah.
I like it. I think it's much more engaging than it had been previously. So
It's true. The lines kind of blurred, right, over the past couple of years. What's work, what's home? Even now, well, we're online now. And we don't know where everybody really is, but
yeah,
it's a little harder to know. But that's a good point too. You get to show a little bit more. You get to engage and connect. It's just not straight reviewed and proofread. Things that came out.
Right.
Corporate-y. It's a little bit more personal and engaging.
and jumping back to Amanda's point about Twitter, I do think that
Yeah.
Twitter is really good for updates. Like if you have
Yes.
something that's timely, put it on Twitter. Like here's an open house, here's a thing we're doing, here's an event. Some like timely content performs well on Twitter because it's a great messaging blast. It's not as strong a platform for anything that you want to be evergreen or anything that's branding related, just because it's not that type of platform. It's very much in the moment. So
Yeah, much more
you know,
newsy.
yeah, so keep it in your
Mhm.
rotation. Like she said, if you've got it in your rotation and you've got it scheduled so that it'll just automatically send out through Twitter as well, like that's great.
Yeah. Excellent. And Jason, you mentioned mostly Instagram Reels in your rotation as kind of the new thing. Are you doing work or content for LinkedIn or other channels differently or?
So people in the past maybe year and a half who've been hiring me, it's very interesting for, well, I do headshots, but not your typical 20 minutes thing. I photographed a doctor, she's health and wellness profession world over the summer, this past summer, last year. And we went to the Key Bridge in Georgetown and started around 5:30 in the morning and did a whole, and she worked it. She knew what she was doing, outfit changes and everything. We did about 2 hours.
Wow.
And it was a whole portfolio piece. That was awesome. And so she used it for LinkedIn, she used it for her website. We walked around she changed, first outfit was in her doctor outfit or whatever you want to call it. And it was really powerful pictures. We went to the old gas station where the exorcist steps go up, and there were people working out there. And we did pictures, spontaneous stuff. We ran up and down the steps. Then she changed outfits. She did a whole running thing. I could send you the pictures with her permission. So that's I do that often now. Twilight shoots for musicians, more portfolio piece type stuff, which is a lot of fun.
Interesting. And are those clients using it for their websites or social media or
Yeah.
both?
Well,
Both
here's
their
the thing.
websites, okay.
So, yes and no. I give these people pictures, and they have no idea what to do with it. To be honest, they're like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know." I said, "Well, here's an idea. You could call. Maybe Beth could help you out, or someone. Kind of bring it into like a full circle. What they do with them, I could help them out a little bit. I'm not a website person, but website, or they'll just put it for LinkedIn. But that's, yeah, and that's nice. Different.
Yeah, and what that
Margaret, I
allows
see
them
you
to do
nodding.
is-
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's great. I love it. I think the idea of having a content gathering session, versus just we're going to take a headshot, and that can be used for like 3 things. Having a content gathering session where you're actually creating things that would be able to be used on multiple platforms in one go is fantastic. Like her and her running gear, that might go on her Instagram page where she's talking about healthy lifestyles, and that's not necessarily content that she would put on LinkedIn, but she was able to use her time with you effectively to get content for both of those platforms. I think that's really a way that everyone should be thinking about social media. I think it's really daunting to say, oh my gosh, I'm going to go produce this video, or I'm going to create this content and it's going to go here, but what about X, Y, Z? And it just becomes this rolling rock of never ending questions. And if you can just say, well, hey, I'm going to create this video and I'm going to put it these 5 places and I'm going to have a photo shoot and I'm going to get these 6 looks and I can use them different things or different places. That takes a lot of the guesswork out of it, because then you have a library that you can pull from when you need stuff for an appropriate platform. So I love that. I think that's really on point.
Yeah.
Great tips. And we're talking about a little bit different skills. Anyone can chime in here. What kind of skills are you seeing people need to develop here? Or is there equipment you need to buy? I remember, when we first went into COVID, it was ring lights. Everyone needs ring lights, or tripod stands for your phone or video camera. Are there pieces of equipment that we should be getting or paying attention, or skills that we need to hone in on to kind of thrive in this world? Amanda, I see you nodding your head. Do you have some tips?
It's a mixture of skills, applications or software, and I guess planning.
Mm-hmm.
So first and foremost, social media is just an extension of your overall marketing. Remember that. So you want to breathe your brand, your personality, whatever that is, into your content. So that is kind of like your baseline. All right, great. But as I mentioned earlier, social media is inundated with stuff. So you want to make sure you have strong images and video. So if you personally aren't great at doing that, find someone who can, if you can swing it in your budget, or maybe someone that would be happy to volunteer. But getting a good eye on visual content, that's another kind of key part to be successful. And finally, take advantage of things like Canva or Adobe Express or the many graphic design applications and software out there. There are lots of great graphic designers, not to take away from that. There is absolutely a place for that. But if you're a small business and you have a post and you want to get it out, but you want to make sure it stands out, hey, throw that picture into Canva, see what template might come up. The paid subscription might allow you to kind of like put it into your brand colors and personalize it a bit more. But yeah, keep your brand in there, use visual content, use the tools that are out there.
Yeah, those are great tips. And Canva is a great, easy to use platform that you could get pretty far with a free version. I think nonprofits can even qualify for a premium subscription.
I can attest to that. We are fortunate to take advantage of that very subscription.
But even a paid subscription is really affordable and can do a lot. Yeah,
and Instagram has the templates where you can, people are like, oh, I don't have video. Well, you have pictures probably. Instagram has templates where you can plug in your pictures to a set song and it puts the timing in there for you. So, you probably notice when you're consuming video content that there are trends that people jump on when it comes to the setting of their content. So, there's the show me one thing that you would do differently and now it's the way that you always do it or whatever that is. And people are showing the hack that they have. There's a lot of that stuff that is templated within the social media platform. And all you have to do is say, I want to do this with X, Y, and Z pictures, or it'll take the song and it'll set your pictures to the song. And there you've got a little video. It'll show up in the video content and you really haven't had to create any video. I think, nowadays, if you have a good phone, that's pretty much all you need. Make sure your shot is framed well. As Amanda was saying, as Jason knows, it's interesting because I think with photography, the rule of thirds, you don't want to have your content in center. You want to have it at one of the points at which the thirds of your screen intersect for interest points. But when you shoot like that, sometimes it's hard to take your horizontal photo and make it vertical because the content's off. So, consider how you shoot your stuff, shoot it a little bit differently and pull it into different platforms. You can do that with your iPhone nowadays. It's really easy. I think, Sprout Social, Hootsuite, all of these tools make it really easy to publish. So just being familiar with how those platforms work can be a great asset. And honestly, with my clients who are producing content or who are helping gather content to be used in their streams, I think the biggest hangup is not so much talent as it is moxie, if you will, like having the guts to say, well, I don't know what I'm doing, but by golly, I'm going to do it. You know? And I think that instinct to just say, well, hey, listen, I'm going to go out and shoot that video, or I'm going to go take those pictures and I'm going to put them out there and we'll see how they do. And I'm going to understand from my audience engagement what performs well for me and then do more of it. That's a tough bridge to jump off of. It takes a lot of guts to go out there and do it. So don't worry so much about your skill. You know, no one's going to see it, honestly, like unless you're like going out there and boosting it or have like a really great following. Just put it out there, see what happens, and then you're fine. But you have to start somewhere.
No, that's a great tip, because you're right. You know, you don't know if it's going to work unless you try it.
Yeah.
And the risk is generally pretty low, because it's like you said, it maybe you get 3 likes instead of 20, or
exactly. And we have a lot of we work, for example, with some home builders, and the salespeople are in the homes all day. And I say, hey, just like take your camera and walk around and like film yourself showing the kitchen. Send me 6 videos and maybe I can use one of them, right? And I can say, hey, like that video is great. Here's what you did well. Like next time you do it, send me more of those. And the next time they send me 6 videos and I can use 3 of them instead of 1. So I think, no holds barred. Just go at it, try new things and see what happens. You can always, the one piece of equipment that might be helpful in today's world is like a cheap little gimbal. A gimbal is a piece of equipment that stabilizes your phone so that if you're doing moving shots or walking around, it's not wobbly. There's a lot of software nowadays where it automatically takes that out, but you can pick up a cheap handheld gimbal on Amazon for $50.
I was just gonna say, I think you can get one on Amazon.
Get
on Amazon? Yeah. No, those are some great tips. Are there other tools that you're using to see what you might do to change? I don't know, Amanda, if you're following your analytics or how your audience is reacting to things, like what kinds of tools are you using to kind of analyze how you may make a change in how you're communicating with your audience?
So over at Ready, we have quite a few social media accounts. So there's Ready with LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and then we have Explore Rockville, which is our tourism account, which has Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. For all of those, simplify it and put it into Hootsuite. We use Hootsuite to manage all our posting and content, but the added benefit is Hootsuite also runs analytics on all those platforms. So Hootsuite is kind of like my default. I'll peek into it. But if I want to get into the nitty-gritty analytics, I'll go to the actual native platform. So within, let's say, Twitter, for example, when you log in, you'll see a little chart at the bottom. Click it, you get all your analytics where you can really see how that particular post or whatever month is performing. So short answer for me, Hootsuite, because it's easy to look across 6 accounts. But with Meta, you have the business suite. With Twitter, you have the analytics. Every single social media platform has analytics. I take a peek at all of them, especially when it's month-end time for reporting. So, yeah.
Awesome. Good stuff. And Margaret, I imagine you have to do this quite a bit with your clients.
Yeah, I think, just like Amanda said, Hootsuite's fantastic. Oh my goodness, the platform that we use is completely like, I'm having a brain blank, but we use a similar thing, and everything hooks up and and it's great. But then if you want the nitty gritty, getting into the actual platform is fantastic. There are different things to look at. I think the engagement rate is awesome. Knowing not just the number of engagements that you got, but the number of people who saw your content versus the number of people who interacted with it. That is a valuable number because you may not reach a whole bunch of people. And if you look at your engagement number just by itself, you might be a little sad. But if you look at the engagement rate, I only reached 20 people, but 10 of them engaged with my content. That's great. That's performance. Social media is different because it's a platform that a lot of people kind of go into, I think, thinking that they're going to acquire leads. They use it as a lead platform. And that is true for, I think, specific cases, for specific things where people are looking to buy a product, or, a restaurant uses their social to put stuff out there to attract people to the restaurant. But really, social is brand building. Largely, I'd say probably 60 to 70% of what social does is creating your presence out there in the world. So it's tricky, because I think a lot of people think, oh, I need to look at my metrics and see contacts coming in, or I need to see people reaching out to me via social to buy my stuff or engage with me about my service. And that's not necessarily what it does. What it does is help build your brand lovers, build your following of people who then know you. And when they're ready to engage, they'll go to your website, or they'll go to the platform that you are, they'll show up at your restaurant. So you have to look at the metrics that are coming out with an eye to understanding what your goals are as a company and what your purpose is, so that you're not like, oh goodness, I just put $200 into ads and I didn't see any sales. Well, you put $200 into ads and you reached a much larger audience that is similar to your organic audience. And, now in the future, they know who you are and they'll engage with you. And that's a different purpose than necessarily getting somebody across the finish line for your call to action, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think those are some great points, because there's sense sometimes of it as being more of a transactional kind of platform, and like you said, if it is a sales of widgets or whatever, it's a little easier to track that. Someone saw it, someone came and shopped and bought it, or they didn't. But there's also this, I don't need it right now, but I'll come back when I do need that product or service.
Exactly. And when they come back, they're probably not going to your social platform to buy something or to do something. They're probably finding your website. So you still want that engagement on social, because you're building your brand following. But the actual action is going to be taken from them somewhere else on the internet.
Yeah. No, great points. You talked a little bit about ads and social. Can you say a little bit more about that? And would love to hear, Amanda, how you guys are using ads or boosting posts, and where is the investment there? Where is a good investment? Or if it depends, like what are the factors that you need to consider before you just throw a lot of money at Facebook ads?
Good question. So for our day-to-day communications, we don't necessarily do paid ads. So informational stuff, not necessarily. But if we have a specific campaign or project, that makes sense. So we have an overall goal. You have to, like Margaret said, you have to understand what your goal is. So let's say, for example, and Margaret's company helped us with this when we launched Rock East District. They helped us put together a campaign that also had paid spend, because one, it's a completely new product. Two, we needed to quickly reach an audience. So putting money behind paid ads made sense there. Now that it's a bit more established and people know who Rock East is, we don't necessarily pay for ads there. But in future, let's say there's an event or festival, then yes, we'd want to boost. We use it on a kind of project or campaign specific case-by-case basis.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think when you create a campaign, social is great because it has really strong audience building tools. You can say, I know who it is I want to meet and who I want to be getting my content in front of. So you can create those audiences within your social profile and target ads at them. And you can have different ad sets that reach your different audiences. So, we're talking about these age groups. The content that I put in front of a 23-year-old who's thinking about going out to dinner is different than the content I would put in front of a 45-year-old who's thinking about going out to dinner, because they might be going to the same restaurant, but they probably have different motivations on what's taking them out and the type of evening they want to have. And hopefully you're able to reach a diverse audience with your offerings. So with social, you have your organic audience, people who follow your page. And so they see your content, if it's in their algorithms, et cetera, and maybe their friends of friends see it. And that's kind of the way that organic content grows. Paid advertising puts your content out there in front of people who are not in your organic feed yet. So you can reach my neighbor down the street who has no relation to me on social media, right? Or you can reach all the people within a certain zip code who fit a demographic profile that you put together for them. And so it casts a much wider net. Boosting a post is essentially turning a post that you put together into a paid ad. So there's a lot of questions like, oh, I don't want to run ads, but I'm going to boost a post. Well, you're taking your post, you're turning it into an ad. And so that post then reaches a larger audience than it would reach in your organic feed. So like Amanda was saying, running ads is great for building brand awareness if you need to like gain followers on your page, or you have a specific thing that you need to do. If you've got a sale that's running and you want to let people know who are outside your market, like let them know that through something like that. It's great for, just putting out a paid spend campaign. In the industry, there's display advertising, and display advertising is basically, your pictures. It used to be print,
Visual.
Billboards, stuff like that. So you can think about the impressions that you're earning in social media, like the way that you used to think about opening a newspaper and the number of people that would see your ad opening the newspaper. Right. So you're going to reach those people. Are they going to do anything? Hopefully, if you have a strong audience that's built up, you'll see them liking your page, following along with you. Once they like you, it's great because then you can reach them with your organic content. You don't have to pay to reach them anymore. Right. Social also has the opportunity to create lookalike audiences, which is really lovely. So you can say, I've already got a great following on my page. I want to create more, I want to create an audience that looks like my audience so that way I know they're more likely to engage with me, and you can spend your money well that way.
Yeah, that's great. Are there, benchmarks on how much should you spend on paid advertising? It depends, right, on what you're trying to do and who you're trying to reach and all that. But is there, if someone's just getting started in this world and they want to try it, is there try $100, try $50, or is it $500 you need to move the needle? Is there any kind of advice like that on how to get started with social advertising?
There's no real with any anything like that, you get out of it what you put into it, unfortunately. Sure. I wouldn't say there's a huge a threshold. We had an open house from one of our clients, and we boosted the ad that we put together or the post that we put together for the event for 3 days, and we spent $50 over 3 days, and they had 9 families show up to the Hard Hat Tour, and they were really excited about that. So it depends. The nice thing about it is when you set your budget, it gives you a guesstimate of what your performance should look like. Right. So you go in there and you say, I'm going to spend $50, and it'll say, well, that estimate is that you're going to reach this number of people out of a presumed audience of whatever. So you've built your audience, maybe it's 10,000 people could apply in your audience, and it'll say, if you spend $50, you're probably going to reach 3,000 of those people. And then you might say, okay, well, I want to reach more of them, I'm going to spend more. Or you could be like, I don't know. And, I think the other thing you can do is you can look at past performance, so if you've run things like this before, you can say, where were my metrics before? What can I expect to get out of this campaign? And adjust your expectations accordingly, especially if you've been able to optimize, based on what you saw performing. If you put together a campaign and it didn't do great, and made improvements, you can go from there. So social media advertising is cheap, though. It's 12 cents a click, typically, 8 to 12 cents an engagement. So that's a lot cheaper than PPC, pay per click advertising, with Google. It's certainly cheaper than LinkedIn. So it's a lower conversion, usually, lower quality, but it's cheaper. So
more foot in the door, kind of. Try it out. Okay. Amanda, did you have any advice or kind of side with what Margaret's saying?
Yeah, I concur. Beautiful thing about social media, like Margaret was saying, is advertising it's super flexible. So let's say as a small business owner, I want to run an experiment, set aside $25 every month for the next 6 months, see what happens. Yeah. Or the inverse, I have, let's say this new product launching, I want to reach 10,000 people and hope that 1% converts. You work out the math and you spend that amount of money. So
Okay.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
flexible.
No, that's a good, easy, simple formula too, to just kind of work your way backwards from what your goal is, and then kind of figure out what you need to get there. Like a lot of things, right? Social media is really no different from that regard. We're getting close on time here, so I want to kind of wrap up kind of what we're doing here and leave some time for questions. So would ask each of you to just kind of, what's your best advice for someone who is looking to get started or really ramp up their social presence? Where should they focus, or, what should they keep in mind as they're going down that journey?
I can start. So, as a business person, I know you're super busy thinking about operations of your business, stock, etc., but take the time to make sure that your business profile has as much information as possible. As a consumer, it's great. It helps me, one, see that you're more credible. You've spent the time, you have good information up there. Two, it also helps with searchability. Like I mentioned, people are searching for things on social media, so putting more information in there can only help you. The only other tip I can think about is, remember, social media is social. Post things, but also react to things. Take the time to build an audience,
Yes,
interact
yes.
with people. It's sadly becoming just a large kind of advertising board, but as businesses,
Yes.
remember, it's people and relationships that actually purchase things. So take the time
Yes.
to generate that relationship.
And I'll tag on to even respond to the negative ones, because those are going to come. Do not ignore those. Make
Especially
sure you
take it
address them.
offline
Yes.
if you could, but at least
Yes.
acknowledge, hey, I saw you.
Yes, excellent. Margaret or Jason, some tips for folks
yeah.
here.
Sure, why not? Tip. So post often, if that's your thing. I post after every wedding I do, or bar and bat mitzvah, or headshot with permission from the client. Post those pictures, and I post them on Facebook. I post stuff all the time. 3 or 4 times. If I'm sick or if I'm busy, I'll not mess up. I won't do it. But it's like going to the gym. You have to get that muscle memory and post those pictures. My wife brought up a good point a couple years ago. She goes, don't on Facebook, they'll have your memory from last year or 8 years ago, 10 years. She goes, no one cares about that stuff, to be honest. They want to see new stuff. Use proper grammar, basic stuff, keep it simple, but people don't care about old bar mitzvah. Yes and no. I disagree with her on certain things, depending on the topic. She goes, put new stuff, or and that helps. And return emails. You want to make a living, emails, get back to people quickly. That type of thing is important, I think.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason. Margaret?
I think just echoing what people have said, Jason, I think you're right on the money that putting out new content on a regular basis is really important. One of the ways that we work with a lot of our clients is we help provide that backbone content. So we put together a social media calendar for them on a monthly basis. So they know, like, at least something's going up once a week, 3 times a week, 5 times a week, whatever works for them. So like if they get super swamped, like it's going to keep going without them. And then they can supplement or have us supplement as needed. So I think that consistency is key. I do think that like the memories are fine if you need content. Like if you don't have anything to do and you're running, like if you're totally swamped and you're like, oh my God, I'm not gonna be able to put something together today, and it's been 2 weeks since I posted, share your memory and be like, throwback Thursday to an awesome bar mitzvah. It's true. And like Amanda was saying earlier, like, utilize those hashtags. I think it was Amanda, maybe it was Jason. Utilize the hashtags to show why you're engaging. Like follow those trends, figure out what people are going with. And I think if you're looking to ramp up or looking to really put your feet in the door, look at your competition. Figure out what other people are doing and emulate them. See what they're doing that's getting great engagement. See what they're doing that's looking pretty that you want to have done, and copy it. Don't completely plagiarize, but like if they're, if they've got like 17 photos of beer mugs that are getting really a lot of likes, start putting out some beer mug content and other things too. So it's not just, whatever, but learn from the successes of others in your field. I think Also, the point of engagement of about it being social like, is huge. Spend 2 minutes a day just going through either people related to your audience or to peers or to competition and give them thumbs up. You can comment one word. I think I brought this up in another panel, but you know, like Gary Vaynerchuk is like one of those big gurus out there. Some of his stuff is hokey, but like one thing he said, I just take 2 minutes and I go on and I just comment, and like there's a realtor doing something, I'm just like swole. Like he's realtors at the gym posted a personal photo, like a personal thing of him working out in the gym. Just wrote swole, you know, like totally nothing to do professionally, whatever, but it's on point. It engages with the guy. It shows that he's paying attention and it's timely in the moment. Like, you know, it's your brand. So I think, you know, Amanda's saying, mind your P's and Q's. Jason's saying, mind your P's and Q's. That's all about making sure that your brand is out there, who you are and who you want to be to the world.
Awesome. No, good tips. I'm gonna shift it over to questions, and I know Margie's gonna have to close things out here in a little bit, but if anyone has questions, feel free to type them in the chat, and we'll open up for real-time questions here. Margie had a question here we didn't talk about at all. Pinterest. Are your clients still using Pinterest, and how so?
We have a few clients who are on Pinterest. You know, Pinterest is a really great resource gathering board, so it's great for inspiration. So, you know, Jason, you probably probably use Pinterest a little bit more because you're able to put together photo board ideas for brides or bar mitzvahs who are like, oh, I'm really interested in having an aesthetic that follows this thing that I saw online. So I think if you're a very visual company, like there's an opportunity to use Pinterest to put things out there. We have run some Pinterest advertising campaigns with, you know, okay results. Nothing that we've been like, oh wow, that's like the undiscovered secret that everybody should be jumping on. So it has a purpose. I think it's you know, definitely used for people to put together mood boards and inspiration and things that they reference in the future. So if that's what your product is, it's a great place to be.
Great. Well, thank you, Amanda, Margaret, and Jason. Really great tips. I know I learned some things here as well. So really enjoyed this conversation. Really appreciate you sharing your time and wisdom with us today. I'd love to open it up for a few questions if you have. And this is a great panel here, and some other friends online who may be able to chime in as well. So any questions?
I have a comment.
Okay.
I want to thank you, all of you. And you can see, everybody, that we have in our marketing committee and in our chamber, we have marketing experts. This is what they do for a living. And we have a videographer on today, Andre. He's a new chamber member. So, I mean, we have experts that can help you. And I think if you're overwhelmed with running your business, hire one of these guys. I mean, because they want you to be successful as well. I know a lot of times it's just too much, you know, when you're running your business to do all that. One thing the chamber always needs is ads. Like when we have like our business directory, or we're always scrambling last minute to get people's ads. So I would say work on having some different ads available. So if an opportunity comes up, whether it's a chamber or any other magazine, you know, you have them, you know. And then I know we do a lot of social media at the chamber, and Dawn is excellent at scheduling, doing things so everything's automated. You know, the less time it takes you away from your business, you know, you just want to try to automate as much as you can. And then I have an ask. I want one of you to send me a video from your phone after this meeting and tell me what you thought of this marketing roundtable. And I'm going to use it on social media. So here's a test. That's, you know, for this committee. So somebody just take your phone, take a video, and shoot me an email with your video on, you know, what did you think about our marketing roundtable?
Margie, that is
great
an excellent example of the moxie I'm talking about. Like, don't be afraid to ask and to tell people. Be like, you're going to send me a video right now. Take out your phone and do it. Like my brother has a coffee shop, and he will like, someone's checking out, he's like, all right, take out your phone right now and leave me a 5-star review. Like, he's got great reviews and it's part of his brand. Like, he's just unapologetic. So anyway, sorry.
I had a quick question. Oh, somebody else.
Yeah.
has- one tool that we've seen out there, and I don't know, there are probably others that I guess would fall in the social media bucket. I'm thinking of the MoCo show. And like that, is that something that it seems expensive when I've looked at it? I don't know, relative to other things. But what are your thoughts about vehicles like that?
So I think I caught the question. It was like, are you talking about advertising with the MoCo show?
Yeah, and if there are other venues like that for us in the Rockville, Montgomery County area.
That's a great question. I love the MoCo show. I engage with their stuff a lot. If there are partners out there or audiences that you think align with what your people are consuming. So if you're working with a group and you're like, hey, 90% of the people I work with are following the MoCo show, that's a great opportunity to partner with them and have them either sponsor content or retweet your stuff or find some other sort of opportunity with them to utilize their audience. So if they align with you, everyone has their pricing structures, and it just really depends on if it's worth it to you to buy into their audience. Because I think that can be a really powerful opportunity to partner with people who have already done the work of curating the following that matches your following. So that's another way. Like, you can set up your audience and ads and reach them through that, or you can be like, that brand already has a great audience that matches my audience. Let's figure out a way to partner. So I know there are other opportunities out there in MoCo. I think local papers are great. It's really dig down into your audience and figure out what your audience is consuming. I have to remind people it's not necessarily about what you like, it's about what the people you want to like you like.
Sure, good point. I think MoCo show you can advertise on their social as well.
Yeah.
Not just on their blog site. So that may be a little bit more affordable.
And Amanda, you might know more Rockville local opportunities to advertise. You know, I know there are a lot of media, like local specific things out there.
You know what? Interestingly, the majority of, with the exception of one, I'm thinking is called Rockville Nights. But
yeah, Rockville Nights. Yeah.
Outside of that, I've found actually there's a lot of influencers kind of filling in that space. So for example, one that pops up often is Pike and Rose. She seems to be everywhere, covering things from food to events to just general news. So yeah, take a look at like local influencers. Obviously look to see if their brand and follow in aligns with yours, but
yeah,
not
Pike and Rose is great. I love her. For restaurants, she'd be great to get to know.
Yeah, not a ton of like hyper local Rockville specific things, but lots of people for sure.
Yeah, good points.
I have a question, which could take a whole other hour. So just a quick thought on it, and that is, I don't think we mentioned emails here either. So I think a lot of companies are still email marketing, and it's probably still pretty effective. So maybe even more effective than social, depending. Right. I mean, there are people who are really good at getting their stuff to really pop, but how do you see, just as a general overall thing, email fitting?
A lot of our clients do email marketing as part of their general marketing strategy. And they have different strategies depending on whether they're sending to a list that's already subscribed to their content or whether they are partnering with a vendor who is reaching a purchased list. So you should have like a backbone of content that you're feeding to an audience that has subscribed to you on a regular basis. Like if someone signs up for your newsletter, you better have a newsletter. Because I've said, I want, please send me more information. So send them more information. So I think there are a lot of opportunities out there for paid email marketing, a lot of different vendors. I think it's also kind of display advertising. So, you know, it's putting your message in front of somebody with a visual impact. You can use a lot of the time, there are tools out there to create emails like Emma, you know, et cetera, to create emails that you can then send to them. It's a it's a platform where you do see mixed bags. Like you can send an email to the Washington Post audience and it's going to have a really good open rate and good click-throughs, but it's going to be $10,000. Or you might send it through a partnership with a vendor who buys the email lists for people who sign up for the grocery store or whatever. And it's going to have a lower open rate and lower click-throughs, but it's going to be a lot cheaper. So you can just kind of look at your results and figure out where you want to be. I would tend to say start with social advertising before branching into email marketing, unless it's marketing pure organic.
And Connie, I think you're right. We probably could have a whole nother webinar just on that topic. We are coming up on time. I can see Margie has some things to say. Okay.
I would just like to say the Chamber offers 25% off Constant Contact email marketing program.
Oh, nice.
So if you have not used that, you have that discount through us. So I want to thank Beth and the panel so much. I found this incredibly valuable. Thank you for everyone that's on. And who's going to send me that video? I'm going to put a prize to it, so I'm going to see who's going to do it. I'm not going to tell you what the prize is, but I'm going to have a prize.
And don't forget to save the chat if you want to get the contacts from the folks who are on this call.
If you have other questions, feel free to email.
Yeah, for sure.
What's the video again? What are we supposed to do? I'm sorry.
A little testimonial.
About why you thought the session was...
A little testimonial saying what you got out.
What did you get out of this? You're a panelist, so you don't count. So any of the... none of the panelists can count because that's what they do. So anybody else here who's a guest, please, let's see who does it. I have another meeting, so thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.